Hello, and welcome to another episode on the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast. Today, we thought it would be really helpful to look at how we start off the year with our pediatric clients after having a break. We look at whether you just continue on the same trajectory that you were on when you left, or is it better to reassess and see what happened over the holidays, where their skills are at, have they had a growth spurt, and start from there. So we're going to give you a few of our learnings from working over the years. So with that being said, let's get started.
We are child development obsessed business besties and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzy Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackie, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move.Talk.Thrive podcast.
Hey, Em.
Awesome. Hey, Lizzy.
How
How
are you
are you?
feeling?
I'm good. I've still got baby with me,
Yeah,
so got a few more weeks to go, just trying to
hands on.
get organized. Yeah. You're back into work?
Oh, yeah, crazy. Oh, it's gonna be like relax. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna, just go with the flow, which I very much did in the holidays, which I'm very happy about. So I feel a little bit refreshed, but yeah, back into school and the routine, it's just always like feels like a bit of it's a word, just a bit of chaos, really.
I feel like a lot of people have been saying that recently,
Mm,
and they've been saying, I've been trying to be organized and
mm,
trying to make sure I've thought of every contingency, and then it still just feels chaotic, or January still has just been a bit hit and miss.
mm. Yeah, I feel like it's just the energy. It's not necessarily anything in particular. It's just the kids readjusting to school, to more structure, to new teachers, to new kids, us getting back into it, and just that like extra load on a plate of their emotional needs, I think is. Yeah, it's just always feels like a little bit more. And then I don't know whether I think the pace of the clinic, particularly pediatric clinic, not so much my other clinic, but the pace of a pediatric clinic is just, it carries the same energy because the kids are carrying that same energy as our own children, and the parents are, and the schedule is still evolving. Yeah, so I feel like it's just that higher energy.
And that's why we thought we'd talk about this episode today, right? Because obviously, what we experience as parents, as mums, is pretty much what's happening in the sessions, like you said, with all of our kids when they come in. Even though they've had a wonderful holiday and they've had a really long break off, they can be potentially like very dysregulated. They can
Yeah.
be pretty rusty coming into therapy sessions. They can be pushing maybe like the parents' limits or triggers when they're coming in, even though you think they should be coming in refreshed. It's a little bit different. And so I think it's really good just to think about these things
Yeah.
and
And we,
maybe normalize a little bit, normalize the chaos
yeah.
of coming back, because sometimes we think, do I like need to jump straight back into goals?
Mm,
You might have finished in December or November last year doing a certain path, and the child was coming for weekly or regular therapy and they were doing so well. So you just kind of come back, say January, like late January or February, and you think we'll just go straight back into those goals. But then, is that right for the child? I don't know.
yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
just revise goals, like start with something that's easy for them that they did achieve last year? Do you
Yeah.
assess?
Yeah.
Um, so sort of just, I think,
How do you
like,
pick up again? Like, how do we pick
yeah,
up after a break? And I
yeah,
think, we've talked in a previous episode about how important it is to encourage families to continue therapy, whether it be
mm,
through the holidays or during that transition stage, because you want to keep some consistency and those regular people in place. So I
Yes.
think that is really important from an education piece, because I know we get quite a few people that, don't do week one or week two just because they're settling in. But remember that we can provide some of that security and that lightness as well, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a full-on session
Yeah.
coming back. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be back to baseline.
Mm.
It's sort of just it can be reframing the first couple of sessions back to be about like regulation if they're dysregulated, or reconnection if you've been away, or just like you said, education. It's not about performance, not about hitting the goals initially.
Yeah.
We need to
Agreed.
develop the rapport.
Yeah, agreed. So just reconnecting, creating that safe space, keeping it light and engaging for them, and really focusing on that connection, and really trying to maybe understand how they're feeling as a
Observation, right? Observing them where they're at,
yeah,
observing the parents' energy
yeah,
levels, because obviously parents affect children very much, and
yeah,
vice versa.
yeah,
And chatting to parents to, to see what's been happening, what's been going on. Often I've found that parents will say Christmas and New Year's that I felt like my child went backwards
yeah, yeah,
because they were out of routine and everything. So it's just
yeah.
really like that emotional support as well, but then also figuring out, have they gone backwards? Have they gone
Mm,
2 or 3 steps back? Or, or if they have, in what way? Is it
yeah,
actually our therapeutic goals?
yeah.
Or is it just
Is it just a
behavior?
loss of routine? Yeah,
Yes.
'cause I think, and particularly those kids that thrive on routine, which can be the kids with, neurological
Mhm.
differences and conditions. So I think that we quite often hear that kids struggle on the holidays.
Mm.
So I think that is something to take into consideration. And something I always say to my team and myself as a parent is the most important thing to do, particularly in week one, is just regulate myself. So make sure I've got lots of white space in, and it always happens that something pops up and work is a little bit crazy, but just kind of taking that lens of looking after ourselves so that we can go into this regulated, because the kids, whether you're parent or practitioner or clinician, the kids will be a little bit dysregulated. So it's quite easy to pick that up. So making sure you're getting lots of
Mm.
little breaks in there, things that make you feel good, and you can kind of walk into those sessions a little bit calmer.
Yeah, take the pressure off yourself. I think what really helped me was, and this was hard when I was not an experienced clinician. I found this like difficult because
Mhm.
when you're not experienced, you sort of gravitate a little bit more to structure because you feel inexperienced and you know your gaps. But as I got more
Really?
experienced and more comfortable with like having, because you only really go through this once a year, like where you stop, have a really decent break and come back to work. So I would say I only sort of started getting comfortable with this Christmas break maybe like 3 years after, because I only done it
Yeah.
3 times. But what really helped me was I would have, like, obviously take the pressure off, which is exactly what you just said. But in taking the pressure off, I would say, okay, I just need to figure out where this child's at. So I know I have my options, so I can reassess them, like, so whatever area of therapy I was giving them. So whether it was speech sounds, language, stuttering, I'd be like, okay, so I know one option I have is I can reassess, like maybe do whether it's a full like not a full standardized assessment, like an informal assessment, but I can reassess to help me figure out what level they're at and help me set my goals. So that was one option that I had.
Mhm.
Another option was I could just do like a bit of revision on things that I knew that they could do or they had achieved last year to make it really easy and just make sure that they had generalized and maintained those goals and those skills that we taught
Yeah.
over the holidays. And then
Yeah.
another option was, okay, I'm just going to spend the session regulating. So
Yeah.
whatever that looked like for the child. And then I might in that, support the parent and chat to the parent, because often the parents would come in and be like, I haven't seen you for maybe 2 to 3 or 4 weeks. XYZ, XYZ, like I've got so much to offload onto you. And
Mm.
so I knew that that was always another option in my head. And then another option was actually going, oh, the child has made heaps of progress. Maybe they've jumped 3 steps forward. Like it's not always about going backwards. Like sometimes they might have picked up goals and jumped 3 goals ahead than what I had thought. So I just need to then be prepared to jump into a goal that I had not prepared. Like I not thought that they would be at that level. Because yeah, I thought, so I just sort of knew those options, but
Yeah,
very loosely. And so then it didn't freak me out going back into sessions with parents because I hadn't committed in my mind to a solid plan.
totally. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting that point that you just made that basically, when you are a bit greener in those first few years as a clinician, structure provides that scaffolding
Mm,
to your therapy. So, and I really like that just has really landed with me because I look at my team, a mixture of experiences, and very much so those new guys that come through, they really want that structure.
yeah,
Like they want an assessment protocol and they want systems, and that's really interesting to me. And because I don't need that, like I can just go in and I can use my clinical intuition, and my I don't know, my ability to kind of,
experience.
yeah, my experience exactly,
Yeah.
to know how to connect with the parent and the child, and layer in therapy and get a really good understanding of, where they are in terms of their milestones and their goals and whatnot, while focusing on connection. And I think that is
Mm,
something that, that kind of ability to think on your feet and adapt what you're doing, and not have all the structure is something that comes with experience.
mm,
And but it also, I feel like when you're at that point, that really allows for that connection, um, collaboration with the clinical outcomes, like that kind of
mm.
approach where you can actually really connect, but also get that clinical, I guess, therapy in there.
Yeah. Or
Um,
get the data that you need to figure out where the child's at.
yeah, without it feeling too clinical. Whereas
Mm,
I feel like, and I think that would be the goal, because you can then go into it, um, in that way of connecting and re-engaging, uh, without it feeling too like much like school and therapy, and like when they're already in that, phase of all new beginnings.
mm,
And then the second thing I think that I got from what you were just saying is, we're connecting, we're doing kind of an informal reassessment. If we can do that while we're connecting, then I think that's really, we want to educate and revise. And I think that that can go from parents to kids. And then all that stuff that you were talking about. So, giving them an appropriate challenge, something that that they've already achieved, your, your all of those things there that you were talking about, like, kind of got like talking about praise, revision, appropriate challenges, they all come into that motivation. So it's really about re-engaging motivation. And that
mm,
made me think about, like, when I come back to work after having a break, I feel like I go, oh, I'm going back to work. I just, you lose your motivation a bit because you've lost that structure and you've lost, your routine. So I think that that first session is the perfect place to reignite that motivation. And the ways that we do that is through that connection, appropriate challenges, praise, revision, education, security, so routine, all of those sorts of, things that we can then get that motivation back. So they're kind of, everyone's feeling good. And that, I think that can be for both the client and the clinician.
mm. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's knowing that there's no one set plan will work, right? Like new
Mm.
grads, they love the structure, but you've got to have those options because for every child, it's going to be different, and every family, it's going to look different. And
Mm.
that's just based on practicalities, how old the child is, what stage they're at in their life, how their holiday was, etc., the family's dynamics, but also then just um, around their learning, how
Yeah.
they learn,
Yeah.
how they respond to having a break in routine, how they respond to different things going on in life, and then how they respond to, like we said, goals, and how their clinical, like from a clinical point of view, how their skills develop. So,
In
um,
addition to how their day was,
yes,
like
yes, yes, yes.
just having that flexibility from day to day, I think is
Mm,
just really, really important. So,
yeah.
and I think we've spoken about this before about having that set structure, but being flexible with it and really having a toolkit.
Yeah, it's like a toolkit, right? Yeah. So you have your options, you have your toolkit. And so we've sort of highlighted there's two pieces to this, which is one, the clinical side, which is goals, where they're at, progress, what are we going to do with them, like whether they've gone backwards or forwards, but then also then that it's like rapport building connection side. So
Mhm.
there's two sides that we need to be thinking about when we're coming into our first session or our first few weeks with our clinic with our children. And I guess just taking the pressure off so that we really need, like, the main thing is we really need to get a clear picture and a clear plan for the year moving forward in therapy, or for however long they're coming for therapy for. If you do a therapy block, like I speak about, we do therapy blocks. So, for the next 3 months, like your quarterly plan, where are we going? I need to have a really clear understanding of where the child's at right now. So, yes, they might have been somewhere in December, November, but because it's a new year, but it's also like looking at their skill set. And so making sure that you've got that so that you can then set the tone or set your goals appropriately for the next 3 months with that relationship and that connection. And then it's a very good therapy deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very good therapy working relationship. But it's just taking that time, I think. And I guess maybe in this episode, we're just giving you permission, right, to take that time.
Mm.
Just giving you permission to take the pressure off, and to basically make sure that we're normalizing the chaos, reframing our sessions, re-looking at our data, and what can change, what can happen, and maybe like mistakes or, things to avoid, things to avoid, so that you can actually have a very productive first 3 months with your kids and get lots of progress, right?
Totally. And what I just want to add to that is align expectations with parents, because I
Mm,
think from a parent's perspective, you can come in like I'm just was sitting down and doing some reading and writing with my kids this morning, and we didn't do a lot over the holidays. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And even my Marley, he was prep and he's just gone to grade one. And he's like, oh, I can't read. And I'm like, yes, you can. Yes, you can read. And he's
yeah,
just lost his confidence a little
yeah.
bit, really interestingly. So I think if you're working with parents that potentially are a little bit anxious about that progress,
Mm,
which a lot of parents are, and I would imagine particularly in speech, but it's about, just potentially having some communication with them around, okay, the focus of the first couple of weeks is just to, re-engage, build the trust, be a pillar of support, and refocus on what we're trying to achieve in the next 3 months. We really need to lay that foundation of trust, connection, engagement, motivation in the first couple of weeks. So just, I think that goes a really long way for them, because when they sit there and they go, oh, this is what we were doing last year, or oh, they've
mm,
gone backwards, and
yeah.
maybe even just communicating where you notice the child was in terms of their goals. So it might be, oh, they're, they're still doing this really well and they've actually progressed on A, B, C, and D. So whatever you're doing at home is working really well, or could you do more of this at home? I think just realigning with the parents is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's really good. What did you say to Marley when he was like, I can't read?
I said, yes, you can. Let's sit down and read. And I pulled out
Mm.
a book that I knew that he really liked and that he pretty much knows by heart. And we went through and we read it. And I said, see, you're really good at reading. And then we did some writing and he was like, can you help me? And I said, of course I can help you. And I sat down with him. And then I did annoyingly. I said to write a note to his friend to ask if he wanted to come for a play this weekend. And and he was right. And I said, no, 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 put a space there. And the reaction, he's like, you just yelled at me because I didn't get it right. And I'm like, no, 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 I didn't. Like, so he's very sensitive. So I think that's a really good example of just, he's lost a bit of confidence. He was quite sensitive to me redirecting him. So I think that we really need to kind of layer in that nurtured connection in those first into reintroducing what we're doing. So that's really, really important.
I love that. I love what you did. You basically just did what we've been speaking about very
Yeah.
practically. You went back, you got something that you knew he could do, and
Yes.
then you're aware of his sensitivities, and then you got him to, you were there to help him, even though he, was like, you yelled at me, what, you know what I mean? But
But the key is in terms of the motivation, it was something that was relatable for him, something that he was actually interested in because
Mm,
he wanted his friend Louis to come over for a play. So
yeah,
it's right, like, okay, write a letter to Louis asking him, because that's actually really sweet too. Like they take these
yeah.
letters to school, and I quite like that. And I get them to write a letter to me in the morning that I read, and then I write them a letter during the day and give it to them at nighttime.
That's cute.
So
That's
just
like
stuff
really
like that.
functional goals. So yeah, that's really functional as well. I guess looking at the functional element. So you're looking at your in your sessions, like your goals in your sessions, but then also looking at the functional element. So maybe you could take the pressure off some goals by getting parents to do some functional tasks at home like that obviously the children like and are engaged with to increase that motivation.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
great. That's so good, Lizzie. I'm sure I'll have more examples like that once Evie starts school myself.
Oh, he was so upset with me though when I
Hmm.
didn't even yell, but I was like, oh, why did I do that? And he was so upset with me. And then I kind of like left it and then came back to it. And he was like, well, you yelled at me. And I said, well, mummy didn't mean to yell at you. I'm sorry, but you yelled at me for doing that. So didn't like, and he was like, yes, I did. And I'm like, okay, so we're square. Let's move on.
But it also goes to show you like I mean if clinicians want to structure you can have a praise and
Yeah.
correction ratio, right? Like and it's probably needed to be more praise in these times to build up to then maybe give one correction. So like
Yeah.
if you're wanting structure, like obviously if you're an experienced clinician, you don't need to think like that. You sort of just it just naturally happens.
Yeah.
But you could be like, oh, I'm going to give 10 praises for one correction because that's where children are. They're needing a lot of support, a lot of
Yeah, and that's just got me thinking as well is potentially if you can get an idea of the style of the parent,
Mm,
because some of those anxious parents can get that ratio wrong and really
yes.
focus on it being, like I don't
On the
know, coming
negatives.
from, yeah, yeah, that's right. Like they miss the praise
It's
part.
so
So
easy to do. I
yeah,
find myself
yeah,
even as a mum sometimes doing that. And
totally.
it's like our brains are wired just to pick up what is not right. And it's like,
Yeah,
even in the little things, I'm like, oh, you haven't put your shoes on right. Like, or,
yeah,
even if it's the start of school, like if you're starting kindy, I'm just like, oh, like your uniform's on skew. If, you're just like looking at those things.
let it
Yeah.
go.
And so I am super conscious because he's very sensitive like that too. I'm very
Yeah.
conscious to be like making sure it's very balanced and praise, 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 praise.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen all the time. But yes,
No, it
it's
doesn't.
very
But
easy
I
to do.
feel it, and it comes from a bit of an anxious place. And I
And
feel like
perfection.
that, yeah. And I do feel like it's quite easy to pick up parents that are like that, like
Mm,
the parents that jump in. And I was one of these parents when Flinny was at speech, like if he wasn't behaving, and I'd be like, Flinders, sit down, listen, this is what we're doing now. And the speechy was like, you don't need to do that. It's okay.
mm.
Like, just let's just, this is all
Just chill
part of
out.
the session. So, but I do think it can be simple to identify the parents that might do that, and it might be just a small kind of communication. We're working on praise, so I want praising on anything that he's doing really well before any correction at the moment, because we need to build up his confidence, his motivation, so that he's going to try new things rather than be scared that he can't do it unless it's perfect.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So we
Yeah.
hope that's given you a bit of guidance, a little bit of maybe structure with some options and flexibilities and thoughts about your first few sessions or first few weeks, or even just your first session back with your children, and giving you a bit of permission, right, to take the pressure off and just have options in your mind. Um, I was going to say, I'm not sure what you have, Lizzy, but at the moment on my website, I have a New Year, New Grad bundle for preschool language, which lots of people have been grabbing. And it's got all 3 or 4 of my structures and templates that I would use for goal setting and goal strategy and goal planning at a discounted rate. And it's all in a lovely bundled package that you would need as a new grad. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested, you can send me a DM and then I can send you the link for that. Uh, and hopefully, like if you are looking for that structure, that bundle might help you. I'm only doing it, I think, till the end of February, just because it's a new year type offer. But if you are looking for that, I just thought that might be helpful for anyone who's listening.
That sounds amazing, Em. I might get you to send that to me. I have also got my assessment and milestones that you can purchase for under $10.
Yeah.
And also, I just wanted to add for anyone in Brisbane City, Sydney, and Adelaide, I do have my live courses that have just
Yeah.
launched, my in-person courses this year. So go and check those out on my website, because I'm doing some live courses, in-person courses this year.
I saw that. It's so good.
Yeah,
It's so exciting.
yeah,
It's so
yeah, it's
exciting.
exciting. I'm excited for it. So.
All right. Well, you can get those links or send us a DM and we'll send you the links. Hopefully this episode has caused you to rethink your sessions. And until next week, we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.